Alrighty. Hello everyone. Let's see. Let me make sure that everything's looking good. And this is going to be a live stream, so let me just make sure that I got everything where it needs to be. And I think it is. Okay. So, for this one, I just wanted to do a test live stream, and so I'm going to be going through and sculpting something. And yeah, I just wanted to bring you guys along with the journey. Let's see, say something. I was actually wondering if you guys might be able to help me out with what exactly I will be sculpting. And so, who's a prominent who should I sculpt? That's what it is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start moving around some clay, and then maybe I could talk about some of the things that are going on with the figure sculpting course, things that are going on with the stuff that I've been working on, the portrait sculpting course and things like that. And so let me make sure that you guys can see what's going on. Move this over a little bit. Okay, so let me actually move this over to this side. So I'm kind of out of the way. So this is kind of interesting to run all this stuff. So I'm using the normal type of clay that I have. This is Chavant medium NSP clay, and this is the stuff I like to use. And I had a blower just kind of warming it up a little bit so that it's pretty soft for this sculpture. And so I'm just gonna start kind of making a kind of a silhouette shape, and then we might hone it in and get a little bit more specific once I decide exactly who this is going to be. But let's do something that's around this side. And this is an exercise I like to call profile pancakes. And so I'm just going to kind of make a pancake of clay, trying to capture somebody's likeness. We'll see, and we'll see how it goes. And so if you guys have questions or comments, or you want to steer the conversation towards a recent event or something like that, I'd love to hear what you guys are up to and what you're thinking, and we'll talk about it. And so, are you looking for suggestions for a specific individual to sculpt? No, I was just thinking, maybe somebody that's been in the news lately, or somebody that just has an interesting face, and then I'll just look them up on my iPad and try to find a profile view, because this one, with these, it's a shorter sculpting session. I don't have as much time, or sculpting usually takes a little bit longer, and so for this one I will be doing just basically one view and just trying to kind of capture that person's likeness from one view. And so if you think of anybody that's been in the news, or that you just think would be interesting to sculpt, shout it out. First person that says it gets to call who it'll be, and we'll just go from there. But I'm just kind of doing kind of a generic head shape. So getting in the front plane of the face right here, side plane, or the top plane, and the back of the head right there. And so that is kind of a good place to start. Okay, let's see. Well, we don't have any suggestions so far, so let me just look up celebrity, and we'll see first person that comes up. Let's see, on images, first person, we'll do side view. Side view profile. So I'm just typing in celebrity side view profile. Let's see who shows up. Oh, Emma Watson, that might be interesting. Keanu Reeves. Okay, somebody said Jack Nicholson and Keanu Reeves. Let's see. Well, Jack Nicholson got it first, so we'll see if there's a side view. If there's a side view of Jack Nicholson, then we'll do that one. So we're going to do Jack Nicholson side profile. Let's see. Let's see if there's one that's interesting. There's this, well, let me show you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. So there's this one that's kind of like the classic from his, but I want something more side view. That's what the profile pancake works a little bit better. That one might be nice, but it's kind of a weird angle, weird expression, so I don't know about that. So let me see if I can find another one. Oh, that one's a good one if we were doing the front view. But I want something from the side. Is there any? Let's see. Well, let's try this one. So this one's kind of like a three-quarter view. It's not ideal. Oh, that one's kind of interesting. When he's younger, and I kind of like the top hat. So this one, that doesn't really look like Jack Nicholson. Let's see where to go. Oh, man. Let's see, I'm just gonna add to photos. So this one, oh, there's the family photos. This one doesn't really look like him too much, actually, but I like the hat, and so we're gonna do with that. So this is technically Jack Nicholson, but it's a photo that doesn't look very much like him, so maybe that's cheating a little bit because the sculpture probably won't look like him very much either, but that's what we're gonna go with, and so we're just gonna get right into it. So the nice thing about doing these profile pancakes is you can hold up the sculpture right up to your reference, and then that gives you instantly some information on what is going on, where you need to add mass. And so I'm just gonna do that, and then I know there's gonna be quite a bit more mass in the chin. I'm even gonna try, we'll see if we can get kind of an indication of this turning of the neck, kind of those folds. That'll be towards the end of the sculpture, but we'll see. So I'm just trying to build out that mass. Let's see. So right there you can see kind of how I'm aligning it. So we got right there. His nose is missing. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, we're doing Jack Nicholson, The Shining. I've had that issue looking for references when the reference doesn't look exactly like the person. Yeah, that's a really common thing. If you just take one photo of somebody, a lot of the times it's like it takes more than one photo to really get a likeness of them. And so it is kind of tricky sometimes to get that likeness from a single photo. This one doesn't look like him, but I'll try to exaggerate his features, you know, that pointy eyebrow right there, and some other stuff, and we'll see if we can't get something that's at least an interesting sculpture. In such a short time, it's hard to capture a likeness. I mean, even if you have hours and hours, it's tricky. But with these exercises, these are supposed to be, you know, shorter, relatively short, you know, 15 minutes to an hour sculpture, and so they're kind of just for a little bit more fun. So I'm doing doing this top hat, or whatever kind of hat this is called. And sometimes I'll hold it up, it won't be aligned with the camera, but this is just what I'm doing. I'm closing one eye, and then I'm aligning and seeing, like, okay, are things about in the right place? I can already see that that brim is not in the right place, so let's move it down. Line it up again. That's a little bit better. And then that corner of the hat over here. So I wanted to do this live stream just to kind of, well, get used to the live stream setup, because I actually like to do this kind of stuff more often, and hopefully get some things going where I'm just on my YouTube channel a little bit more. I do a lot of the videos that are coming out, they're on the Proco 3D YouTube channel, and that's where all the lessons from the figure sculpting course and the portrait sculpting course are going to be. But I'd also like to get just my channel just for fun and just stuff that's just fun and enjoyable for me. So stuff like this, where I just kind of get a try stuff and create something, and then also have conversation and things like that. So let's see, what should be the topic of conversation? Somebody throw out a topic, and if it's interesting, we'll talk about it. Or if I deem it interesting, because it has to be interesting to me, because I'm running the show. So we'll see. Let's see, how's that looking? So that's kind of coming together. The angle is a little bit strange. Let's see. So I look at it there. That hat is about the right size, but it comes up. It comes up a little bit. So let me try to get an indication of that. Pushing that hat up a little bit. That brim. And then let's place that ear just roughly, so that we know what's happening there. Because that ear gives us information on how the head is tilted, and that comes all the way up and almost touches the hat. Let's see, other hobbies. I actually really like table tennis. So I actually taught table tennis for 3 years at the university. I just finished up the last semester there, so I won't be teaching there. But I really love table tennis, and I play pretty competitively, and so yeah, I really like playing table tennis, and I'm pretty good at it. You know, I'm like the pros where they stand back from the table and hitting it back and forth, and so I really enjoy that. I also like to juggle, and so I'm actually a juggler as well. So maybe one of these days I'll do a live stream with juggling, because that would be fun. I do like that as well. So let's see. So here you can see about what's happening so far. Let's try to get that nose a little bit more like his nose. And then the forehead, let me see. So I'm gonna pull that brim up a little bit. So I feel like it's still a little bit low. Kind of loops this way. So let's see how it's going right now. So that's where we're at. So nothing too impressive. In fact, it looks kind of hideous at this point. A little bit ugly, but not to fear. We still got a ways to go. So let's see. What are some of your guys' hobbies? People that are watching, any interesting hobbies, things that you like to do outside of work that is your passion, or even if it's part of your work. I'd be interested to see what other people are interested in. Oh, let me make sure that that we're in focus here. Yeah. Let's see. The angle of the reference is weird. I can see the other eyebrow. Yeah, this is like this isn't a total profile view. It's like slightly off, and you're looking slightly up at him. You can see the angle of the eyes is kind of like at this angle, so it's not, you're not looking straight on at him, you're looking kind of up. So it is kind of weird, and we'll see how we address that. I don't know, but with every sculpture, you know, you learn something, and so we'll see how this one turns. Sculpting, drawing, yeah, I like drawing. Drawing's fun. Drawing people, I've been doing that for a long time. Let's see, let's actually put a little bit more of a brim on this hat. Just taking little pieces of clay and then starting to go into the details. But I really should probably hone in the profile a little bit more, because right now it's a little bit questionable. I'm trying to think if I do want to add in that other side to have him turning. I think it'd just be too tricky. So I'm just gonna pretend that it's just a side profile for now, and let's add in that eyebrow. Try to get some information on that really angular eyebrow that gives him that distinct look around his eyes. I enjoy sculpting, doing a portrait now, using your vids for reference as well. Well, good. Yeah, I love doing portraiture. So that's the new course that's coming out, is the portrait sculpting course, and I'm really excited for that one. That one I've been editing myself, and so it's a little bit more work for me, just because with the figure sculpting course, Stan's team was helping out with the editing, but this one I wanted to learn editing, and I just kind of I like the idea of building it out the whole course myself, just learning that skill, and so I'm going to be doing the edits for that one. And that one should be a really good course. So if you're interested in portraiture, be sure you check that out. At Proca.com/portrait sculpt is what that is. And that one's on pre-sale discount right now. So if you're gonna get it, now's the best time. Creating art toys too. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. I've wanted to get into that, but it's hard to find manufacturers that cast toys, that do like plastic casting. But yeah, that would be a fun thing to get into. Let's see. So I'm gonna start slowly. Well, let me actually look. I'm gonna look through the camera at the reference, because it actually does help to have the camera here, like how I'm recording, where I can line it up. So I'm not lining it up with my eyesight, I'm lining it up with the camera, just so that you guys can see it and then I can see it. And it does help, because then it puts both of the things in 2D, and you can kind of check the differences, and you how different it looks. So it doesn't look like him at all, but when I hold it up, the features are about in the right place. And so that just shows you, well, actually the back of his neck needs quite a bit more mass, but it just shows you can have the outline accurate, like it could be pretty close to accurate, but then if you don't have the like the features exactly, all those little angles right, it just won't look like the person. And so we're very, very sensitive when it comes to recognizing people. And so you really, if you're gonna tackle portrait sculpting, it's like one of the most difficult things you can do, because we're so good at face recognition, and then there's so many angles in the face, and so to make it really actually look like a person, it's a challenge. And so it's definitely, if you're taking that on, you're taking on a challenge. But if you can get it, it's always really fun to say like, oh yeah, that looks like that person. But we'll see. We'll see if we get there. Let's see, I want to get more time to finish the figure sculpting fundamentals assignments. Molding is fun too. Yeah, we're still releasing assignments for the figure sculpting course. And if you do the assignments on time, then you critique videos that rips me out, just have people's assignments to be able to critique, and then people can learn from those. And yeah, figure sculpting, also a challenge. It's all a challenge, and sculpting is like the marathon running of the arts, just because it does take just that much more of an investment to get a likeness or a form from all angles, not just from one angle like you'd have to do with drawing or painting, which can also be very time consuming. So no matter what you do, it's gonna be difficult. To do anything well is difficult. Let's see. Photos help a lot for the 2D comparison. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. He's got kind of this pretty pronounced form that comes here. And then the eye comes over there. The ear. I feel like I didn't have it pushed back enough. Pretty good size ear. Let's see, now I'm holding it up to my eye, to my line of sight, to get a little bit more accurate to what's going on. I'm gonna try putting that other side in and see what that looks like. If we did that, it's just tricky. Yeah, I prefer it when doing this assignment, these profile pancakes, I prefer that it's just basically straight on. That's when it's the easiest to align with the sculpture, or with the reference, I mean. I actually got into sculpting by making prosthetic fangs. From there it grew my interest. Very cool. Yeah, I like mold making is tricky. It's actually not my favorite, just because it's so difficult and it's so easy to mess up. So easy to mess up the what you're doing. And to get like bubbles in the cast or just imperfections in the mold, and rarely do molds turn out exactly as you want the first time. So there's a lot of fixing that goes on as well. So a little bit frustrating, but definitely a good skill, because then you can do a lot of fun stuff with if you're able to make those molds. I think the position of the cheekbone is crucial to achieve the resemblance. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, yeah, everything. Especially, yeah, any of the forms around the eyes. Any of the forms around the eyes are really important. And I don't know if I'll get a resemblance. I'd be surprised if I got a good resemblance in this live stream, but we'll see. We'll do our best and see how it goes. But it is definitely a challenge. Let's see what that bottom lip is doing. Let's see if we can give. And then we got the folds of the neck. Maybe I can give an indication of that. What clays do you prefer? This is Chavant NSP medium clay, so that's the one I use a lot. and I like it. I really enjoy it. It's not as oily as some other clays that I've used that are non-drying clays, so that's part of why I like it. I've also just used cheap dollar store clay that just says like unbranded, and it just said modeling clay, but they don't have it anymore. I think they've taken it out, or at least I haven't seen it. But that's just cheap. But you can find it at like Walmart and other places. But it was a really good deal when it was at the Dollar Tree, which now is $125. Come on. Have you tried Monster Clay? I haven't tried it, but I've talked to a lot of people that like that and prefer it, because I guess it supposedly it sticks to your tools a little bit less. It's like a little bit less sticky on tools. Is that right? Yeah, 2 people are asking about that. Monster Clay. Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I probably will at some point, because I know a lot of artists that prefer that. Let's see if I can get this kind of bump in the hat. That's kind of cool. Add some character to that. It's really versatile. Yeah, that's the nice thing about clays. Well, I've heard that pretty much all clays are just trying to mimic, natural clay, because natural clay, I think, is the most versatile clay, because it's so soft when it's really moist, and then it can get so firm, when you let it dry. And so to have that huge range, I just hate how it makes me feel, like the clay when it gets into my hands and it dries out your hands. And so I don't like using water-based clay, and it gets dust everywhere, and I don't like that. I don't like how you have to clean up. It's messy, but it is nice. If I had a studio that was maybe like, outdoors or something, I'd like to do more of that. And then just have a kiln, because then you can do the studies, and then you could just fire them in a kiln and have a finished sculpture. Let's see, before using Chevron NSP, I used a weird mix of wax and plastiline and used to love it. Felt more like carving than sculpting. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I've got a microcrystalline wax. It was, what is it, Victoria Brown microcrystalline wax, and that's kind of fun. That's kind of a fun wax. It's like a byproduct of the oil petroleum process, and it's kind of an interesting medium for sculpting. Let's see, it can be melted all the way down to a liquid and gets pretty firm for carving too. Yeah, you could do the same thing with Chevron clay, and so that's something that they have in common. The Monster Clay and Chevron clay. Chevron NSP also you can melt it down and then and change the consistency or whatever. Let's see, now we're starting to get, let me actually zoom in a little bit, and I'll try to, so that you guys can see some of the details a little bit better. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to not get in the tripod so that it's out of the way. Let's see, I tend to like carving rather than building up, although I do both. Monster Clay hard is good for that. Microwave it for a quick blocking out, and then you can do great details when it cools. Yeah, I prefer to mix a little bit of hard clay in with the medium clay. And the Chevron NSP hard is basically like wax. Like it's really hard. And so I mix a little bit of that in with the medium, just because I like how it feels when it's a little bit harder, how it holds the details. a little bit better. Let's see if we can't get the mouth a little bit clearer. Yeah. It's definitely not looking like him yet. We'll see if we can get there. It's kind of looking fun though. It reminds me of a cowboy at this point. Like a scarf around the neck. So maybe we'll just use that as inspiration and change it up. But I'll try my best, I guess, to actually make it look like the person I'm sculpting. But that's what's nice. What's nice about this, if you don't have, or if you're just doing it on your own, you know, then you can just, if it doesn't end up looking like the person, you can just say, I was just doing a sculpture. I was just sculpting. I wasn't sculpting anybody specific. I was just using it as a reference. And that's just another way of saying I wasn't good enough to make it actually look like the person. I might result to that. I wasn't actually trying to make it look like him. I was just using it as a reference. Let's see. So I'm holding it up. Again, the outline's pretty close. I feel like the head might be a little bit larger, the hat. I've only recently been sculpting in clay, but I've been sculpting digitally for years. I was really surprised how well the concepts transfer. Have you tried sculpting digitally? I've tried just a little bit. I do want to get into it more because I understand the advantages of digital sculpting because it's so versatile, and then you can do things that would be almost impossible to do with you know, natural clay, and you don't have to worry about gravity and all that other stuff. And then, you know, you can build things that can be printed. So I do see the advantage of doing that, and I will learn it eventually, but right now I'm focused on the courses that I'm teaching. That's kind of my main focus right now. But I do want to get into 3D sculpting at some point. But I also like traditional, you know, the traditional methods. I kind of like conserving that tradition of working in clay, working with your hands, those methods that were used by the masters to do, you know, rule sculptures in the past. Let's see how this looks. So you can see it's, as far as the outline, it's not super far off. Let's come down a little bit. But the angles are different because of how I'm doing it. Let's see. So now now really just moving things around, really tiny adjustments. Okay, let's build in that brow. I can't stay for the finish of the video. Will this be available to view the final later? Yeah, I'll put this one up in the future. I might take the videos and then put them on my Patreon page behind the paywall, you know, once they're not live anymore. And so for when they're live, people can just come and see. But then after, I might have them just Patreon videos. We'll see how I end up doing that. But you know, this is how I make a living, and so that I got to be thinking about that. This as a way to either advertise for the courses or encourage people to support on Patreon or things like that. And so, but this one, yes, this one for sure, I'll just put it up afterwards because it's my first one and hopefully the first of many. And so it'll be up after. I love the tangible feel of working with your hands and getting dirty, having something you can hold when you are done versus bits on a hard drive. Yeah. Yep. That is definitely a something to think about with digital. I mean, you can print it out, but you are missing kind of some of that tactile feeling that you get. and the dexterity and stuff that you get when sculpting. But like somebody was saying, the principles do transfer. So if you learn anatomy, if you learn form, if you learn the shape of the head, if you learn the shape of the facial features doing digital or traditional, they'll transfer from one to the other. Then that knowledge is transferable. And so every bit of knowledge that you get will help improve your sculptures regardless of what you end up working on. Let's see. I have personally had problems sculpting different parts of the face, the bones, the muscles attached to them, the fat between the muscles. In some areas, it's a titanic job to capture all. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But with any big job, with any big thing like that's really difficult, it's just about breaking it down into tiny, manageable pieces. And so that's what I really try to do with the courses that I've built is just take it one step at a time and then break it down into those like small steps, the smallest step you can do. And then once you get that down, you go to the next step. And if you use that method and just follow those steps, you'd be surprised what you can do, the work that you can do, and how fast you'll improve just by making those, or just by breaking it down into manageable chunks. And so that's why I like this. This is going to be one of our first assignments, is the Profile Pancake Portrait Sculpting course, because you're just focusing on one angle, basically trying to get the silhouette, trying to capture a likeness as best as you can. And that is tricky, and it just comes with time. But you're just focusing on one thing at a time. And then the next one, we're going to go over the block-ins, and so simplifying the head into just basic shape that you can, a basic form that you can get in 10 minutes that has the right bits of mass for the face, for the back of the head, and everything like that. And then we'll just continue on to all of that stuff: anatomy, the bones, the muscles, and on and on. But starting with the fundamentals for sure. Let's see, when you're doing original characters, do you still use reference to pull characteristics from multiple sources, or do you just make it out of your head? I recommend using references as much as you can, because the face is so complicated. Everything's so complicated. So if you're gonna make things up, it helps if you already have hours and hours of experience working from photo references, or live models is even better. And if you have, a lot of experience working from different people, and you can start to kind of guess, like, oh, I know what I've sculpted a nose 50 times from 50 different people. I kind of know what a nose looks, and then you can kind of make things up a little bit more. But if you've never sculpted a nose and you think, oh, I know what a nose looks like, it's like, no, you really don't. You really don't know what it looks like until you've sculpted it, because you actually need to know what it looks like from every angle, and what it looks like, but how to move the clay so that it gets into that form. And so that's why I recommend using references, especially for beginners. But that being said, later on in the course, we do have a site where the assignments are to sculpt from imagination. And so I do think it's something that's worth doing and worth getting better at. But at first, like, just use references to learn as much as you can. And I actually really like drawings, like well done drawings. George Bridgman and other people that are really good at drawing. George Bridgman's one of my favorite, because he draws like a sculpture, like the figures are built out of blocks of stone or something. Like, he draws in a very interesting way that I think translates well to sculpture. Let's see. Steve Hilbert, I'm with you on the feel of working with clay with your own hands. Yeah, definitely. Love your enthusiasm and passion. I look forward to the portrait course and wish you luck. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. It's exciting to do something that you know that you couldn't have done before and that you can do now because you put in the work. That's what I really enjoy. And I enjoy seeing other people reach those zones of like, I never would have been able to do this before. Dun, dun. Let's put in the eye. Or at least an indication of the eye. And I can actually, because this is kind of in the round, I can build out things as much as I want. So I might still, because this eye feels shallow, like there's not as much depth as there should be here, and I might build out these other things, the forehead, this eye line with more pieces of clay. Let's see. Yeah, so if I was going to do this, well, I'm thinking about doing this more regularly, but I'd be curious to know. I guess it's hard for people to say, you know, what time is the best. But if I was to do this regularly, I'd be curious what days of the week are going to be most convenient for people. So I do want to get into just doing these types of things. Sculpting live. I think that's fun. And there's something about live, like, I mean, you can watch videos after, and I enjoy that sometimes, but just seeing it live and knowing that they're doing it in that moment, there is something cool about it. What part of the country am I in? I'm in Utah, so Midwest. Utah. Evenings are good. This time of day is really good. That's good to know. That's what I was hoping. Yeah, so I might do, let's see. Just schedule for the evenings. I think is what works best for me too. Let's see, how long have we been going? Okay. So we'll probably go for maybe another 15, 20 minutes. We'll see what stage we get to. Is it starting to look like him? No, not really. That's okay. That's okay. It's fun anyway. But yeah, he's got a really neat face. I just need to push it a little bit more. So we got to push this eyebrow. Comes up and then down. Am I using Monster Clay? No, we talked about that a little bit. I use an NSP, but I know a lot of people that like Monster Clay. I do prefer a little bit firmer. So this one is Chevron Medium NSP, but then I've mixed in a little bit of firm with it. So, and then I just warm it up at the beginning of the process. Let's see, how does that eye look? So you can see I'm just taking little pieces of clay, trying to build up forms of the eye, but I haven't even put in the, you know, the eyeball, and I'm not getting too detailed. It's just little pieces of clay like this. Make sure that that's in focus. Just little pieces of clay, placing them around, and you'd be surprised how much you can get a feel for the forms just by adding those little pieces of clay. You don't even need tools for these, or I rarely use tools for this exercise, just because it's, you know, it's kind of just a silly thing. It's for fun, just trying to play around with the forms and just focusing on one angle. Let's see, and then that nose really comes sharp right there. Thanks for your eye tutorial. Got to improve on my sculpting. Greetings from Mexico. Oh, from Mexico. Very cool. Yeah, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. There's going to be a lot more on the Proco 3D YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot more of, we're going to do a couple eye studies. The eyes are tricky for sure. So we'll do a few of those. Okay, let's see. I'm going to start to push some other. It's got that kind of pointy nose. And there's just that little bit that comes right there, that lip. That is kind of tricky without tools. And it comes down. Let's see, I have a ton of books on anatomy, face drawing, anatomy of the head and neck, but when I start sculpting, I feel overwhelmed by so much information. Do you have any advice to avoid this? Yeah, definitely. You start like as simple as you can go. And so in the course, I'll talk about this more, but you basically go from the most simple, like really simple, like basically I do a Bridgman head where it's basically just the planes of the face. So the front plane, side planes, bottom of the chin, top of the head. It's like a box. And it's like roughly it's the right shape and size of the head, but you just remove all of the details. And that is how to start. And then you just like use that as a foundation, block everything in, and then just start to add layers of complexity on top of that. But like anatomy is like one of the last things. We will cover anatomy, and it won't be one of the last things we'll cover because we'll cover it fairly early. But it's something that's so, it's like you could be a great sculptor and not understand anatomy just because you're able to understand, you know, the forms and how to simplify something that's very complex. Whereas if you try to make something more complex, then it usually doesn't look right. And so you see that with people that are kind of beginners, and then they try to make the anatomy all impressive, and you can tell they really don't understand what's going on with the anatomy or with the primary forms or the secondary forms. So I'd say really focus on the simple first, like those primary forms. Like imagine, the example I use is like in digital sculpting where you take the polygon count way down and then it just erases all of the details. That's what you want to do with sculpting, and then you slowly build up the details once you've got a really strong foundation. But that's the advice I'd give. At what point do you introduce tools? I use them pretty early on, but I notice many instructors but I noticed many instructors so to go as long as you can without them. So yeah, I'd say, so tools are, the purpose of tools is basically to slow things down. That's the purpose, because when you're using it, when you're sculpting by hand, you're moving really fast, and a tool helps you be more precise. But with that precision comes, you basically have to slow down. And so you have to be more thoughtful of where you're putting the clay, and can't move things around as fast or as quickly, as nimbly as you can with your hands and fingers. So tools are really a way to slow things down. There's a place for them, but I do kind of hold to that. Do as much as you can by hand. And that's not the way I was taught in college. My instructor wanted me to work only with tools. But I feel like when working by hand, you're able to move so much faster. You can shape the clay so much faster than you're able to with tools, because tools just slow things down. That's the purpose, is to be more precise, more careful with how you're laying in those forms. So that's kind of what I try to do. And with this, like I've done ones that are smaller than this and other things. Oh, that to look a little bit better. Still not, what is it? So his top lip is smaller than what I have. So do I need to move the nose, or do I need to move the mouth down? I think I need to move the mouth down slightly, because it feels like the distance here is kind of a long straight. Let me see if I can get something that looks like that. It's looking a little bit better, but it's still not there. But and then that means that I gotta move everything else down. Feel like I just made everything worse. Let's see. Okay. I'm pretty new at sculpting. A goal of mine is to learn to sculpt to improve my drawing skills. Have you found sculpting helped you improve drawing skills? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It just helps you think more three-dimensionally, and you understand, when you understand the figure in the round, you're able to represent it a little bit easier when drawing. And so I definitely think that when you sculpt, you get better at drawing. And when you draw, you get better at sculpture. They really play off each other quite a bit. Yeah, for sure. Do you have any recommendations for sculptors who inspire you? I actually am able to work with quite a few modern sculptors that are really impressive. I really like Leroy Transfield. He's somebody who's on Instagram, but I actually helped him create a little mini course on Proko.com, and he works so fast, and his understanding of the human form is just really impressive. He's got a nice feel, represents the forms really beautifully, and so I really like his style. I'd like to learn how to work as quickly and move the clay as well as he does. He's really good at it. So that's somebody that's a modern sculptor. As far as like past sculptors, I like Bernini. Bernini's sculptures are just so impressive. Kind of hard to beat. Let's see. I started sculpting a year and a half ago from the same reason, but found I really like sculpting much more than drawing. Yeah, I was the same way. So I always liked drawing, and then I took one sculpting class in college, and I felt like I was already better at sculpting than I had been at drawing, even though I'd been drawing basically my whole life. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna switch over and focus on sculpting. And I still like drawing, so I still like and do both. But sculpting has become kind of the numb thing for me. Can you talk about using references? I noticed your reference image is a lot larger than your sculpture. Is this helpful? for a bigger, to use bigger references than 1-to-1 scale. It depends. So this is just helpful because then I can actually hold it up to the actual reference, and then I can look at it and see if it's working. But it doesn't really matter too much because I can just make it bigger or smaller on the screen depending on what I want to do. There's also apps that you can use, like DaVinci Eye is the one that I like, where it just lets you overlay the reference image on your camera, and then you can just hold your camera up to the sculpture, and it gives you that visual feedback, instant visual feedback, and so that's kind of helpful. But references, you know, the ideal thing is working from life whenever you can do that, but that's not always possible. It's expensive, and so I don't work from life as much as I would like, but hopefully I'll be able to do more of that in the near future. Let's see, I feel like it looks like just a mean cowboy is maybe or an angry cowboy or something. But it doesn't look like Jack Nicholson. That's okay, I guess. Let's see, so now I'm not holding it up to that, I'm just holding it to the side, and I'm looking at the screen, just like you guys are, and I'm saying like, okay, what can I push? So the nose feels like it's not long enough, but the features were, when I lined them up, they looked pretty close. So I don't know why they feel so off. Let's see. I'm going to take my fingernail and kind of push this lip up a little bit. See, that's a little bit better. Let's smooth out some of this around the mouth. Thanks for teaching how to make wire guys on Proco. You helped me a lot. You have a great, you are great as a teacher and fun too. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think learning should be fun. I think one of the worst things is when teachers make learning boring and uninteresting. Learning should be fun. So I don't. It should be exciting. Learning should be exciting because it gives you power to do new things. It's like you can do something that you couldn't do before if you have the knowledge. So some of the cowboy sculptures are amazing. The ones running on horses are pretty amazing. Some of the people can really capture movement. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool sculptures of cowboys. It's like Western themed ones. But what is something off about this still? It is tricky, especially like just on the spot trying to capture somebody's likeness. I'm sure I'll look back at the video, and this is something I'd notice is like when I watch other people, like I'll watch Stan Prokopenko or other people do drawings, and then I'll like, oh, I can see this like error that they made right there on the screen. They should be able to see it and fix it. But then you actually do it yourself. Like if you guys actually grab this photo reference and then try to do this profile pancake, and you'll be like, oh, that is actually a lot trickier than I thought it was. So it is a tricky thing, but you just, the more you do, the more you get better. And I think it's good. Like I'm not a perfect sculptor, but the principles that I teach are sound. They're the principles that the masters used and use. And so, you know, any errors that I'm as an instructor is usually just because I haven't spent enough time developing those skills, and so that's why I'm still getting better, or at least trying to. But the principles themselves are sound. It just takes time to develop the ability to apply those. Please don't take this the wrong way, but it's refreshing to see you struggling with some of the same things that we amateurs do. Yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So, every piece is a struggle. I really struggled with self-portrait sculpture. I think I got it to a place where I'm okay with it now. I actually still might do some work on it, but the self-portrait, I was like, that's like the one I'm doing for the portrait course, and I wanted to throw it away and like start over after like 40 hours of working on it. And I was like, this is just not turning out. But I decided that I'd just take all the mistakes I made when I was doing that and I'd turn it into its own lesson. So there's going to be a lesson on all the mistakes I made when I was doing my self-portrait. And so hopefully you guys can, because there was ways to it. And so I had to change the way I was looking at it. I had to use mirrors. I had to, you know, take photos and then just look at the photos and the sculpture on a flat screen, stuff like that. Like you kind of have to trick your mind into seeing it a fresh, new way so that you can see some of the mistakes and how to address them. I'd have my wife come and look at it and see if she could point out anything that felt off, because she's got a pretty good eye. So yeah, it was a challenge. And every portrait sculpture is a challenge. Likeness is hard, yeah. Likenesses are hard. Yeah, I think the same education should be something to celebrate more than to suffer. Yeah, for sure. I'm burning my supper watching this. Have a great live stream. Well, thanks for joining. Hopefully your supper isn't too burnt. And I'll try to do more of these because it is kind of fun. So I think we're at an hour right now. So I actually think I'm gonna cut it at about here. Did I get a likeness? No, not really. But it was fun, and it's a fun sculpture. It's kind of interesting. So even though it doesn't look that much like him, it is an interesting sculpture in and of itself. So that's kind of fun. All right, thank you guys. If you want to support, check out my Patreon page or the figure sculpting course on proco.com/sculpture, or the portrait sculpting course. Those are things that really help me out. That's how I feed my family and make money to do more of these types of things. And so it helps me out a ton. So thank you everyone that has done that. And yeah, just keep sculpting, stay productive, stay creative, and keep going. Okay, we'll see you guys around.